The comparison of court cases can bring about a lot of information from what was decided upon at the court of law. For this assignment, I've chosen to analyze two cases in which the students were identified as exceptional, and the recommendation is that special accommodations are made for the students. In both cases, the parents have appealed the decision to the Special Education Tribunal. The reason why I picked these two cases is because I personally am very interested in how education policy came to be and how they've evolved over time to fit the needs of the students as well as the community at large. So we're going to start with a case from 1988. This is the Rowett versus Board of Education for the Region of York, so before the amalgamation into the Toronto District School Board. In this case, we are introduced to a young lady named Jacqueline. She is a child that has been diagnosed with Down syndrome as an exceptional pupil, and the recommendation is that she is removed from her regular classroom and placed in a self-contained classroom for the educatable retarded that was about 12 miles from her home. Her parents argued that this violated her charter of rights to equal protection, her right to equal benefit of the law without discrimination, and her right to the freedom of association. They also argued that this violated Section 8 of the Education Act, requiring the placement of appropriate special education programs and services without the payment of fees by the parents. The parents' argument was that the placement in a segregated class would result in Carolyn falling behind and inhibit the development of social skills and associations, which she requires now and will require in the future if she is to participate in the life of the community. The final result was that the appeal did not stand, and in response to that, the parents took Jacqueline out of the public school system and placed her in a private school board. So now I want to take a look at a case from 2006. This individual is a little bit older than Jacqueline, Nafis Ismail. He is 14 years old, and he is in the Toronto District School Board. He is identified as an exceptional student who is also diagnosed with Down syndrome. The board placed him in a special education classroom. It is a placement in which the boy's mother objects. So this interesting thing about this case compared to the last is that this case brought forward multiple experts as witnesses. So they brought forward psychological, language, mathematical evaluations that placed him significantly behind his age gap. It's really interesting to see that the Education Act evolved to encourage the placement of student in a regular classroom that would meet the student's need and is consistent with parental preferences, which is something that we don't see in the 1988 case. Again, the use of different witnesses that specialized in identifying sort of psychological development, literacy, language, and mathematical development was something that we don't see earlier. And the focus on preparation for future education, developing the skills for learning those basic needs, is also emphasized here in this case. So we see that finally the decisions that were made my highlights seem to have disappeared. Decisions that were made for the students focused on developing skills of learning the basic skills for independence. Again, that sort of echoes the argument that Jacqueline's parents were saying, that they felt the segregated classroom did not develop those skills. So it is really interesting to see how the Education Act have evolved over time, taking into account those parental preferences. The final conclusion from this case, this trial, was that the student would be placed in a half-day special education classroom and a half-day regular classroom. The half-day special classroom specifically dedicated towards his numeracy and literacy skills that aim to sort of develop those and sort of get him to a place in which he can focus on developing those basic skills for everyday living. Overall, the two cases were really eye-opening. Sort of reading through them really broadened my eyes in terms of how our policy have changed, how our policies are implemented in the classroom, and how it can be challenged by parents and by students alike.